Welcome back to Author Mastery Insights. I am with Dr. Cameron Brownley. So pumped for this conversation. Dr. Cameron, welcome.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here, Dr. Marcus.
I know this is going to be an epic conversation. So for those not familiar, I'm going to provide actually a really strong and deep background because I think this is a really important conversation. And while there's some great chiropractic background that we're going to share about Dr. Cameron, we are also going to expand, I think, the conversation and the chiropractic paradigm in this conversation. So for those not familiar with the amazing background, well, first, Dr. Cameron grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and he attended the University of Michigan for an undergraduate program in microbiology. In a series of experiences, and we may even get into that, he discovered a deeper understanding of life and well-being, and thus he discovered vitalistic philosophy of chiropractic and a way to facilitate healing from above down, inside out. And following this discovery, he attended Life University from 2015 to 2019 to obtain his DC. And we think, well, that's a new graduate chiropractor. This is a great story to have when somebody has that early understanding of chiropractic, but he also brings a great wisdom into the conversation with that pre-existing background, which is why I think this conversation expands. So Dr. Cameron is incredibly talented at creating a safe space for his clients to experience a deeper connection with themselves. He believes that one of the most valuable healing comes from the relationship of full trust and rapport. And when the nervous system and the heart are fully open, miracle healing and deep spiritual growths are possible. And that's why I think this conversation is so important, because we know that, as DD said, we are, uniting man, the physical, with man, the spiritual, through chiropractic. And Dr. Cameron's vision is a community filled with families and friends who trust their innate healing potential, turning inwards to find the cause of any dis-ease in their system and uncover, the life that they were meant to live. And this is what has been, discussed and will be discussed today as Dr. Cameron talks about the true self journey. And as a writer, Dr. Cameron guides the reader's mind through chiropractic philosophy, simple science, metaphysical concepts, personal life experiences, and even a bit of poetry. And I think this is why this book here that we're going to be discussing today, and I love the clarity strategy. It's about the availability of consciousness that always wants to aid us in our journey to uncover our true self. And that's why in this book, and it's the first of a series of 6 books, the True Self series, we're going to uncover an incredible breakthrough, not only in this book, but his articles in the Pathway magazine that will come out in spring 2022. With that background in mind, and as I said, I love the fact that chiropractic has such a universal appeal, and we see many chiropractors talking principles of chiropractic in their books, but principles of universal intelligence, escalating the experience of the practitioner-patient interaction to elevating consciousness. A unique conversation. Dr. Cameron, tell me, what is True Self, the clarity strategy?
Well, True Self came to me when I was in nature, and it was the first time probably in my life where I felt a connection with truth. I felt a connection with consciousness, a connection with spirit, whatever you want to call it. And I felt grounded in myself at the same time. And it's this interesting dichotomy we get to experience as humans, seeing these truths of love and light expressed in the world, but then also trying to kind of walk ourselves through it and learn how to articulate it and stay present enough to actually have those types of experiences. So for me, the True Self is a journey, and that's why I write it that way. And honestly, I feel like True Self has written me in a lot of ways. I kind of feel like I'm just going through the motions, and then I get inspired and I write a little bit, and then I have to practice it in my life. And I don't know if you can relate to this, Dr. Marcus, but it really is profound when you feel that inspiration of consciousness flowing through you in the words and in these truths that you're doing your best to articulate. And you do it, to some degree, and then it's like life shows you this way that you can walk the walk and actually show that you are embodying these principles that we talk about. So for me, True Self is just that. It's not about being perfect all the time. It's about doing our best to stay on the journey.
And in all honesty, I think we all resonate with that, because we do, as chiropractors, I think, recognize, we know the client or patient journey. We know that we have come from one place and we are now in a different place. And, you know, for those, I guess, wise enough to recognize we never step in the same river twice, and who we are is different from when we began that journey to who we are today. And I think you embody that so beautifully. And what I really want to bring immediately to the surface is, how does this evolve, and how did this evolve from you given your chiropractic experience? So, you know, you'd had this wonderful sense of, okay, there's an awakening here within me. How did that connection to chiropractic happen as a first starting point before we move into how that then became expressed within your written material?
Yeah, so for me, as soon as I learned chiropractic philosophy as an early quarter student, it really just provided a bridge that hadn't been present in my life. I had never understood or known that I could look at the world both as spiritual and physical, and that there was a way to merge the two. And I just remember probably being the only one geeking out in my philosophy class as I was learning these concepts. And just like this explosion of understanding and clarity and wanting to step into this new perspective and wanting to express this new perspective. And, you know, immediately I got involved with Student Philosophy Alliance, and I started having those conversations organically with students. And I later on led 100-Year Lifestyle Club. It's a really effective communication and marketing and paradigm of talking about chiropractic with people. And that way I practiced communicating philosophy, but also in a more grounded way, like in a way where we could talk to earthlings, to regular people, as Dr. Plasker likes to call them, and really bring these truths that we feel so passionately about, but like kind of settle it down a little bit and make it a little bit more digestible. So I would call that process crystallization. And I would say from the beginning of this excitement about learning the philosophy and then moving through to the end of my time at Life University, where I went to college, went to chiropractic school, there was a big crystallization. And I began writing during that time, and really got inspired and felt empowered once I graduated to begin writing even more, and started the series essentially.
Brilliant. And again, I want to bring, you know, some great chiropractors into this conversation, which I think you fit so beautifully into when we talk about people like John DeMartini, who we know is a chiropractor, but he doesn't purely write chiropractic, although there are chiropractic writings he has done and chiropractic teachings he has delivered, but he also speaks to a wider, broader audience, and in that way gives a expanded scope and understanding of chiropractic. And then, of course, Joe Dispenza has a very metaphysical conversation with people as well, and he's a chiropractor. I think there's something that being a chiropractor and then having a chiropractic philosophy underpinning what it is that you do, that expands the message beyond, well, pain or symptoms into a wider model, a deeper and richer understanding of why we are here, what we do, even as practitioners. And I feel like you fit into that conversation because you are talking not only about true self and clarity, but you are bringing metaphysical principles and spiritual understandings into the conversation within practice. So how do you feel the chiropractic philosophy was part of that expanded worldview that allowed you to see chiropractic beyond the walls of the clinic as a pain center or a, you know, treatment for conditions?
To be honest, I felt like innately I knew that healing and spiritual miracles were possible my whole life. I always sort of felt like a leper growing up, wanting to ask these bigger questions about life and not necessarily feeling like anybody else was interested in that conversation or, you know, really believed in that conversation, the magic that's available in life. And, you know, like I said, I had this big explosion. That's the word that's coming to my mind right now. There was an explosion of excitement and pent up stifling that I had stifled myself. I had restricted myself into a scientific paradigm because I was passionate about biology. I studied microbiology. I was passionate about science, and that seemed like a practical application of the passions of my mind. And I remember walking down the stairs at Life University the first time and thinking and seeing Sid Williams Memorial Stone and BJ Palmer and DD Palmer memorial stones there. And I'm reading this and I'm kind of scratching my head because there's some deep meaning in what's written in those headstones there. And I kind of, my ego is kind of thinking, I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid, I'm just going to be a good sciencey practical chiropractor and that'll be good. And then I started meeting the other students that were attracted to Life University. I started learning about the philosophy. I started receiving regular chiropractic care from this metaphysical, more potential energy perspective. And everything that had been stifled started to come online, sort of thing. So I hope that answers the question.
And I think, I think there's almost a moment of, maybe it's biographical, but you can use these words if you like, because as you're speaking about that and how you felt, and maybe how so many other chiropractors feel as well, which attracts them to principled chiropractic. I'd like to throw these words out there as a moment, from leper to leader, simply because if you felt that way, one, you're not alone. Two, what everyone is looking for is what you're talking about, and to have this conversation that there is a rich metaphysical element to chiropractic, I think is there are so many chiropractors feeling that way, that particularly when they're in teaching institutions that don't offer that aspect to the curriculum, and then they're observing this or realizing that these are conversations that they can have, that they're not just things that they have to bottle up within themselves, that it leads into connecting with others. And in the case like you, I think you're going to have a great leadership role for chiropractic, because you're willing to speak your truths. You're willing to embrace that aspect that may feel uncomfortable for some, and to share that and bring growth into not only your own life, but the lives of your patients, your colleagues, and therefore the community. So what was it that motivated you to step into that position of, I guess, vulnerability and willingness to share and communicate? Why put yourself in a position of saying, let's write a book, let's put this out there? How did that unfold for you?
The discomfort of not expressing it became more uncomfortable than just having the regular conversations with people. And I started noticing that in my first year of practice. I graduated from chiropractic school, moved to Asheville, North Carolina with my wife-to-be, Dr. Natalia, who's an amazing practitioner herself. And we started a practice in 2 locations, and we got married in a couple months later after that. And in the beginning, it was, how can we get people through the door, communicate it basic, be authentic, but also stifle it a little, like not too much. Let's just get the practice running. Let's just be successful. And we did it, and it worked. And as time progressed, the discomfort of not speaking up and talking about emotional healing and spiritual healing and limiting belief systems and all these things I know to affect the physical body and the nervous system, I just couldn't not have those conversations with people anymore. And as that happened organically, I began writing. And actually what happened, Dr. Marcus, is I wrote True Self Embodied Consciousness. And what that ended up being was around 480 pages of the scaffolding for what is going to be the True Self series. So in my first year of practice, I wrote True Self Embodied Consciousness, and then continued to grow and continued to crystallize, and listened to a higher will that eventually told me, good job, Cameron, good. Now take that first chapter and make that a book, and take that second chapter and make that a book. And then you'll have a series, and it'll be really beautiful to watch this thing write you as you become more and more articulate and also vulnerable and expressive with this true self journey that you're walking, but also getting to express at these different milestones throughout your career and your process. So that's how I feel like I've walked into it, and am continuing to walk into it, continuing to practice communicating to meet other people's why, and communicating in words and in a way that other people can connect with. And that's really why I think I have taken as much time as I have to crystallize and make parts of the writing as concise as I can, so that it's simple. Because if it's simple, it's a book you can read over and over and over again. But if it's diluted and complex and kind of all over the place, that's not necessarily the book that you can get meaning from over and over again. And I sort of feel that way. That's the same way about universal truths and aspects of consciousness that we're trying to understand. It's like, I'm writing True Self-Compassion right now. I'll let you know when it's done, because it just keeps percolating over and over again. The minute I think I have mercy figured out, I get another opportunity where I have to express mercy. The moment I think I have patience figured out, there again, it's right in my face, and I have to walk the walk before I can talk the talk.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And there's a passage by Marianne Williamson from her book A Return to Love, and I have not committed to memory that quote, so I can't deliver it perfectly. However, she speaks about the ability when you shine your light, you unconsciously give others permission to shine theirs as well. And I think that's what you're doing here, is when you have that vulnerability and you step courageously and boldly into the situation of the metaphysical arena and communicating that in this open forum, people who already know and believe this and want to share this but may have held back on themselves are now saying, he committed to that process, and that liberates me to commit to that process as well. So I think, as I said, this represents great leadership for other chiropractors who are going to work in this, in the spiritual and metaphysical domain of the profession. And I just want to appreciate and acknowledge you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And one thing that brought up for me, which I also want to raise, is how then do you bring this into a conversational sense in practice? How does it evolve? Recognizing that this is also a not a necessarily easy conversation to have when somebody comes in, hey doc, look, I've got some back pain, neck pain, or headache, and it's created that symptomatic paradigm for chiropractic to have those conversations. But we need to shift that needle a little bit. How does True Self, the clarity strategy, lead to conversational and paradigm shifts in practice?
Yeah, I think the most simple way that it does that is, and this is something that, again, I've learned again more recently, and I'm practicing again more recently, is that your true self, the person walking in's true self journey is not my true self journey, and it's not my job to put them on their true self journey. I can be a healing facilitator, I can be a coach, I can provide body work and work with them and help coach them to get closer to their true self journey and to feeling better and functioning better and all these great things we know is available with chiropractic care. But a lot of times when people are very symptom oriented, they're also very victim oriented. And I like to, from the get-go, shift the perspective out of victimhood and into empowerment and grace and ease and optimism. But also, one thing I say is, I don't care about your pain, because pain is subjective. It doesn't tell me anything clinically, but I care about your pain. Like I do want to hear about your pain, and I want to know the clinical symptoms so that I get an idea of what's going on, even though I'm going to do my assessment still, and we're going to teach you breath work, and we're going to empower you along the process. And we're going to say the body that heals the body, the power that made the body heals the body. We're going to say things like that. And we're going to go through on this journey together. But I'm not necessarily steering the boat. And I think that can be challenging sometimes for chiropractors to actually practice. I mean, I know we all know it, but I think a lot of chiropractors, if they were really, really being present with each new person that's coming in, or even clients that are returning, I think they would be surprised at how often they find themselves walking into that hero role and that I'm going to fix you role. And I think that conversation keeps us locked in the perspective and the paradigm of victimhood and thus dysfunction and dis-ease and disempowerment. And nobody really goes anywhere in that paradigm. We've experienced that paradigm through Western medicine, and Western medicine's great for emergencies. I'm so grateful for the doctors that helped me and my wife when she was undergoing acute illnesses and in emergencies. I'm so grateful for that care. And that is not a solution. That is a quick solution in the moment to be able to get us walking back to our house and into holistic providers and into doing all the things we know we need to do to get back on purpose and heal from the inside out. So I think that the true self journey helps people to shift the perspective from victimhood into self-empowerment.
And how's this been received? Like when you're in practice and people see that you're a published author, and what are the patients saying to you? Are they going, what type of a responsiveness exists in the community and in the practice to give feedback to the decision you've made?
Yeah, it varies, honestly. I would love to say everybody's like, yay, good job, Dr. Cameron. This is awesome. Let's buy your book. Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. This is awesome. I've probably gotten that response from somewhere between a quarter to half of my clients. The other half is somewhere in between, like, it's just kind of just like going right over their head, just like not really knowing what to make of it, or just like, no, I'm not interested. That's not for me. And that's okay. It's all good. I'm not going to shove a belief system down somebody's throat. And, the way that I perceive the world and these truths isn't necessarily the way that everybody's going to connect with them. I haven't received any negative feedback. What I'm speaking to is just like, I guess, the energy that I'm feeling in the interactions. I can tell when people like don't really want to talk about it, so I don't push it. But for the clients that have read the book, it's been received really, really well. And I've had clients that have read it multiple times over. I have this one middle-aged man who really, it changed his life. And we've had some really nice moments together where he's been reflecting that truth back to me. And I've had it with other clients as well, where I see something click in them when they understand a concept of drawing boundaries to have more peace in their life, or settling themselves into real-time presence so that they can listen to a higher will in the moment and feel like they have the permission slip to be able to do that. So that's been really wonderful to watch. And I think it's just beginning. I am growing my audience, and I'm looking forward to more reflections and integrations of that expression.
Love that. And what I really take away from that is, for those that are ready to have the conversation, the book has opened up that conversation. And for those that aren't ready, the book is still there for when they are ready. And there's always an opportunity, because the book maintains itself over time. And when you open up the conversation, you create the opportunity for paradigm shifts. And so you move so many more people than you otherwise would as an established author, as a recognized authority, in the direction of the shifts that are going to be more meaningful and valuable to them. Everybody, as you said, not everyone's going to read the book, doesn't matter, because they're still on their journey at that point in time. So given that it opens up such opportunity, what would you say to other chiropractors who may not have felt like they have a message to share, or could easily or effortlessly write a book, because maybe they're not like Dr. Cameron, who can sit down and write a 400-page book and make it a thesis over a 6-book series? They're just not you, or they're not capable in their own mind. What's your thoughts about the limitations we place on ourselves, the beliefs that hold us back, and how we can overcome those to actually serve at a higher level?
I think that there's lots of different ways to express. There's lots of different reasons people fall in love with chiropractic. Maybe it's the philosophy, like it was for me. Maybe it's the science, and maybe it's the art. In either of those, there's lots of different ways of expression. In philosophy, you can write, you can speak, you can do less involved aspects of writing, such as poetry. You can lead small groups. There's all sorts of things that you can do within that medium. With the art, I find a lot of my very artistic, amazing adjuster friends, they like to work with their hands a lot. They really like to take these concepts such as like biogeometry or other aspects of consciousness, and they like to do something artsy with it. And I think that's a really cool expression too. It's like, I got this friend in Nashville who, he's a skateboarder. He's always been a skateboarder, and he's an amazing adjuster. And what he's done is he's take recycled skateboards, and he's helping Sun Chiro tables make the legs of the tables out of these recycled skateboard pieces. These pieces of wood it's just very, very cool, very creative. And I think it's really beautiful when people are able to take their life experiences before chiropractic and to merge that expression with chiropractic. And then obviously with the science, it's going to be contributing to research. Potentially it's doing case studies within your own practice, or reading and communicating research to other chiropractors and other people that want to hear about the research. There's some really great podcasts where people break down the research papers for us. And I think that's wonderful. I've been in the research world before. I did a little research at University of Michigan. It's not necessarily for me, but I love learning about it and having it distilled in that way. So I think that there's a lot of different ways to express. And for the chiropractors that don't really know where to start, I would say try one. Try the first one that pops into your mind that feels good, see how it works out. And if it doesn't work out, then try a different one. I think there's a lot of different opportunities.
There are. And you have taken one of those opportunities, and I just want to again acknowledge, appreciate you guys. Grab a copy of this and start evoking within you a deeper conversation about not only chiropractic and what chiropractic can do, but what we are here to do and how we can be guided to fulfill our potential and our mission, and not only chiropractic's mission, but our own as well. And I think for that, Dr. Cameron, I just want to acknowledge, appreciate you. I'm grateful that you've added to the body of work, and I know that having come through the chiropractic lens, it offers such a timeless and the immutability of the principles in there are just elegant, powerful, profound, and beautiful. Appreciate you, my friend. Everyone grab that copy. Dr. Cameron, this has been great. Let's go write a book together,
everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Marcus. I really appreciate this. This has been awesome to connect with you, and looking forward to doing it in the future.
Absolutely. Next time the book's out, next one, we'll be back here sharing that message as well. All right, everyone, let's go change the world through chiropractic.